Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome back to our biblical themes in American literature talk. We'll now begin with some themes from the New Testament. And I'm looking specifically at sin and salvation and spirit versus flesh. Okay. All right, so quick recap. For the Jews, when Adam and Eve sin, there's really nothing wrong with their souls. They just get kicked out of the Garden of Eden and life gets really hard. In other words, it begins to suck, like I said before in the last segment. Okay? And all they have to do to get right with God is just work really hard to follow God's laws, and that's going to really put them right with God again. Okay? But there's nothing wrong with their souls to the point where you need a supernatural Savior to pull them up out of that state of spiritual lostness. All they need are a bunch of laws to follow, and they'll be good as long as they follow the laws. Okay. Well, the Christians have a different understanding of God and the human person and what's wrong with the human person and how to fix the human person. So for the Christians, when Adam and Eve got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, something was so damaged by that, something was so wrong with their souls that they needed a supernatural Savior to pull them out and heal it and make everything right. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so as we get into literature, we're going to see, for example, in Charlotte's Web, we're going to see some of this, kind of sacrificing of oneself, laying down one's life, and watching everything kind of become better and new in the community. Okay, so when Charlotte lays down her life for Wilbur, things get better for Wilbur, things get better for the little town. I notice Charlotte's name starts with a C, okay, and she's kind of battling this antagonist named Templeton, who could kind of derail the whole thing. Assuming Templeton, doesn't get his act together, which he sort of does. Okay, but look for some of these Christian images in this book, and maybe how it patterns itself off of the sin salvation theme. Okay, and lastly, we'll just do two for this segment, and we'll come back and wrap up the other two. We have the spirit versus flesh. Okay, so also in the Christian Bible, especially in the writings of St. Paul, we have this civil war that's occurring inside of each human being, and it's between the spirit, God's ways, and the flesh, the world's ways. The two are at odds, and they're always kind of battling it out. So in the narrator's life, he knows he's far from God, but he's longing for God. Okay, he knows he's off track, but he's longing to get on track. Okay, and even when he does arguably find God at the end, or at least some kind of higher power, he sort of knows that there's going to be some kind of struggle still, because we're never, fully in a perfect spiritual state. There's always some kind of struggle going on. Tom Brady can't win it every year, right? He's going to lose it eventually, which he did. The Yankees can't always win the World Series. Well, likewise, if I have a good spiritual year or two, maybe the next year, I'll end up, on CNN with a major scandal behind me. You just never know. So the spirit versus the flesh, kind of giving into God and God's ways, and kind of minimizing the world and its ways in one's life. That's kind of what it's about. Okay. So those are our other two themes that are really prevalent in the Christian Bible. And there can be some overlap between these. There are different ways to do this, but this is the way we're going to do it in this class. Okay, so when we come back for our final round, we'll look at good versus evil and the presence and absence of God. Okay, and that's going to be exemplified by the memoir Night by Elie Wiesel. Okay, so we'll meet back in a few.